The Ravens just gave fans one of their best looks yet at this team heading into the 2026 season, and after watching the latest episode of Ravens.Wired, one thing became pretty clear. This team is building something special inside of the building. And obviously, as everybody wants to talk about talent around the NFL and the weapons on offense and the defensive playmakers, before you get into a game, a team's culture is a true impact on how far they can go going into this upcoming season. And one thing that stood out about this episode specifically was Jesse Minter talking about commitment, Zay Flowers, and Lamar Jackson, and the players just buying into the overall direction of Declan, Doyle, and the offense. As well as this, defensive players are making a huge impact, and today we're going to break down some of the latest, biggest moments from Ravens.Wired and why this episode showed us exactly why the Baltimore Ravens could be a team that is very special, especially based on their team culture going into this upcoming season. But before we get into today's video, you guys are going to want to make sure to subscribe to Ravens Digest. Our current subscriber count is 841 subscribers out of 1,000 subscribers, so make sure to hit that subscribe button. It is completely free, no cost at all, and you are getting daily Ravens videos, updates, and rumors every single day. You guys are not going to want to miss out on the content every single day that we are providing you guys. Now, when we talk about Jesse Minter specifically and him setting a standard for this team, I think that the new head coach hire and the biggest question surrounding it is what type of team the Baltimore Ravens are going to look like this season. With Jesse Minter, everything we saw from this mandatory mini camp, the answer seems pretty clear. Jesse Minter wants a team that is very disciplined, very competitive, and very bought into the system. He mentioned one of the biggest things about commitment this season, and it is something that he has seen from the veterans this offseason already. Minter specifically mentioned that 30 veteran players have attended 100% of training camp and the off-season program. This is a massive statement because these are established veterans on the team, such as Lamar Jackson, who has never really had the opportunity to have a full 100% full minicamp. This is something that they don't have to show up to every day as their voluntary workouts. They could choose to train somewhere else, go to Pompanano or whatever the case may be, and go have a workout there. But them showing up to this training camp shows how invested they are into this new mindset that Minter's trying to bring in. And the culture is setting an example every single day when you have your veteran leaders showing up every single play and just being the most effective leaders that they can be and show these younger guys that the commitment level that they need to be successful in the NFL and for the team to be successful as a whole is something that is very needed within the team's culture. Another thing that really stood out to me this episode was the fact of how competitive the team is, even from a non-football perspective, with the things that Jesse Minter is trying to implicate. One of the biggest moments from this video that I really stood out and really I thought was a very funny moment was the throwing competition regarding the medicine ball and how far the medicine ball could go. The offense and the defense both competed to see who could throw the medicine ball the farthest, and the side that lost every specific round had to do push-ups as a counteractive. Even though it was a fun competition, nobody in the group wanted to be doing the extra work of the push-ups, and it was really cool to see the competitiveness and the trash talk while teammates were also cheering each other on, as Lamar Jackson and other players had to pick the specific players who were throwing the medicine ball. This big factor clearly creates relationships and has a great sense of energy within the team culture, and something that the Baltimore Ravens and Jesse Minter is trying to implicate. They compete when it comes to doing every single thing that they do, regardless of it is a practice or a actual live rep, whether it's a drill, a workout, or a simple just off-season competition such as this one. The mindset carries over, and you can see why the Baltimore Ravens and Jesse Minter are trying to create a newer environment that players can buy into and feel like they are a part of the team. One player who also stood out during the episode for having a bigger voice, especially in the wide receiver room, as we know, Zay Flowers is a very prominent player for the Baltimore Ravens, and Ravens fans can be very excited to the direction that he is heading in going into this season. Zay Flowers, as we know, brings a physical presence, and his speed and separation ability is very high level in the NFL. But what looked different in this specific episode was the way that Zay Flowers was carrying himself throughout the entirety of the episode. He looked like a player who was truly understanding what it meant to be a leader on this offense, and now as a veteran and a key veteran, he is fully understanding and embracing this role going into the 26-27 season. Throughout practice, he was constantly communicating with the receiver group, encouraging his guys, coaching the younger receivers through reps, and just being an overall jokester and a fun guy. And this is the type of growth that you want to see from your young star. Zay Flowers also talked about how important it was to get live reps during practice, as it is very key to being able to benefit and gain when it comes to things such as route separation and route technique. He can go against defenders on the Baltimore Ravens with high abilities such as the Nate Wiggins and the Malachi Starks, and it's all about creating chemistry within a new system with what Zay Flowers and Jesse Minter is trying to adapt within these live reps. The more comfortable Lamar Jackson and his receivers are going into this season are something that can show how dangerous the offense can be. And the biggest storyline surrounding this is the biggest relationship change this season, with instead of it being a relationship between Lamar Jackson and John Harbaugh, the now relationship between Lamar Jackson and Declan Doyle. Whenever you have a new offensive coordinator, the biggest challenge isn't just teaching plays, it's getting the person to believe into the person that is teaching them and giving them that mentality. Zay Flowers made a really interesting comment about Declan Doyle, as he said that he feels like Declan Doyle is really a part of the team and buys into the system. They understand the players, they know how to communicate with the players to make it feel as if it's not a player-coach relationship, and most importantly, they believe into what the players are doing and the buy-in from the Baltimore Ravens. The biggest face about this is Lamar Jackson, as he is the face of the offense, and any offensive change will affect Lamar Jackson and also be run through Lamar Jackson. It has to allow him this season to continue to grow as the quarterback that we know he is. And from the early signs of this video and early signs of minicamp, it seems as if Lamar Jackson and Declan Doyle are creating a really good relationship throughout the entire course of the offseason. One of the coolest parts also about this specific training camp was Calais Campbell, as we talked about in a previous video, and the veteran impact that he is having in terms of a coaching perspective and helping out these younger guys. Obviously, when you bring back Calais Campbell on a one-year deal, the first thing is everyone is talking about is, can he provide on the football field? Can he help? Can he get important snaps for Baltimore? And can he make an impact? But if you watch this mandatory minicamp, you can also see another reason of why this signing made sense. Calais Campbell is spending time with the younger defensive linemen and young defensive pivotal pieces, and he was working through their techniques within their hand placement and helping them with things of that nature, and also helping guys understand their matchups and what to look for coming on a Sunday. This is something that Calais Campbell has very effective knowledge in, as he is a 2-decade veteran in the NFL. He's been through multiple defensive systems. He knows what it means to work at the highest level. And now that there are younger players within Baltimore's room and somebody has already done it, such as Calais Campbell, this is the type of leadership that you cannot just find anywhere, as we spoke about in a previous video. His experience really speaks for itself, and the young D-line group that is trying to develop can have someone beneficial such as Calais Campbell to help them every single day. But when you talk about the core defense of the Baltimore Ravens and the newest signing of Calais Campbell, we know that the biggest anchor of this defense in the middle linebacker room is none other than Roquan Smith and his big defensive impact. Then, when you come with Roquan Smith, honestly, it is something that Ravens fans expect from him on a play-to-play basis, and he has been one of the most emotional leaders on this defense since joining from Chicago. Now, throughout the entirety of this episode, Roquan was constantly communicating with the teammates, making sure guys were lined up correctly, calling things out that he can see within the coverage, holding teammates accountable from the defensive perspective. And this is what makes Roquan Smith such a valuable player. He helps the defense operate as a whole before the play even coincides, and one missed assignment can change everything from a defensive perspective. Having someone like Roquan be able to coach and speak up and make sure that everyone understands their role as a Baltimore Raven is a huge advantage for a defense. And this is also why his leadership lines perfectly with Jesse Minter and Anthony Weaver, and the new head coach can bring this new philosophy into the system, but the players can carry the message onto the field, and Roquan is clearly a player who is doing that on a big basis. But when you also talk about the defensive back room and the secondary, a big piece that I really wasn't expecting to be as talked about is Malachi Starks, due to him and his confidence seeming like it has a huge jump compared to last season when he was a rookie. The talent is already there. We already know this. He is just trying to understand the defense more and become more comfortable to communicate within the defense. And apparently, according to Roquan Smith, this is exactly what he's been seeing from Malachi over the course of minicamp. He is speaking and calling things out specifically, being a great teammate and making sure that things are on the same page and helping organize the defense prior to the snap. When the NFL moves such as in a fast rate that we know that it does, the playbook is more complicated, and Malachi needs to learn and be able to gain knowledge faster and be able to communicate more. With this, it shows that he's getting way more comfortable and confident in the NFL, and he looks more comfortable in his own shoes now than he did last season as a rookie. Everybody knows that he has a very high athletic ability. That's why Baltimore drafted him in such a high pick. making sure that he can be a corner and a secondary piece that the Baltimore Ravens need. And if he continues on this straight line path, he should be a player that can have a major step forward going into this season. But if we talk about the Ravens team as a whole, this was a great episode to learn more about the minicamp perspective and what the Baltimore Ravens are trying to build in this room. It is important because, as we know, every NFL team has talent and every team thinks that they can win in the offseason. But you have to have that trust and accountability and care for each other as a team. This is what Jesse Minter is showing. He is showing that the team is a built-in system and buying in from veterans top down to the young players becoming a voice, and the veteran pieces that we know, such as the Zay Flowers and the Lamar Jacksons, to be able to have this next evolution within the coaching staff and communicate their abilities within the team. As we know, the Baltimore Ravens are a team in which things can happen and things don't always just show up on a stat sheet. The Baltimore Ravens are looking to have a very effective year, and based on what we've seen from minicamp so far, I see no reason why the Baltimore Ravens aren't a compiled and a compact unit going into this season to have a high chance towards a high playoff run and a Super Bowl push. Obviously, as we know, the NFL doesn't guarantee anything, and on Sundays, it is purely based on what a team is judged by wins and losses, but it is great to see this in the Baltimore Ravens locker room. As we know, the talent has always been there, but it feels as if they're building a sense of a bond and a sense of a family within this Baltimore Ravens organization, and Jesse Minter, Declan Doyle, the scouts, the coaches, Eric Biscotti, they're all trying to create this sense of family within the Baltimore Ravens organization, and it seems as if there are bigger roles for these younger pieces to be able to contribute going into this upcoming season. The biggest thing I'll be watching specifically about this training camp is Lamar Jackson and Declan Doyle and how their relationship can develop. But let me know what you guys thought about the episode of Ravens Wired. Do you guys think the biggest thing that stood out to you was the culture? Was it Zay Flowers stepping into a more comfortable role as a veteran? Or was it Calais Campbell mentoring the younger guys and getting them situated for a week 1 start? Let me know down below, and if you enjoy the daily Ravens content, make sure you guys subscribe. It is getting started with the coverage heading into training camp, and we are very excited for the Baltimore Ravens season to get underway. I appreciate you guys watching per usual, and I'll catch you on the next one. And until then, Ravens flock always.